Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Live Boldly with Sarah. I am sitting in a hotel room in Michigan. I am at my former client, she is now a dear friend of mine. I'm at her wedding. Last week, I recorded a podcast episode with Joe. Joe is somebody that I've been seeing for the last year. We reconnected just over a year ago, and he was actually my very first crush, which is so funny to say. I was like 12 years old. And now we're dating, and I adore him. And that podcast episode brought up so much for so many people because I hadn't told anybody. I've been keeping this a secret for the last year. And now I'm at this wedding, and I want to touch on the things that have been brought up from people, the questions that have been asked. How do you find happiness and joy on the other side of those difficult times that we are walking through? I get asked this all of the time. So I want to give you one very big piece of advice, and I want you to go grab your journals and write this down. You have one life. You are here right now, right? This is the one life that we know about. When my mom died, I experienced so much sadness, and I had this massive realization that I don't want to regret this life that I am in. I don't want to spend more time in sadness, pain, unhappiness than I have to. And that I have to quote is my choice. And I've always been this way. I've always had this space in me, this stubbornness, I want to say, of I don't want to stay in the hard any longer than I have to. That is an absolute choice. So your choice to heal, your choice to make different choices, your choice to choose differently and to get to walk through this space, right? To step into that space of survivor and thriving from those difficult experiences, that is on each and every one of us. And that is the most empowering choice that we have because we ultimately create the life that we are in. Okay. And I know that those are some hard words for many of us because we we don't choose to be hurt, right? Like people hurt us, people betray us, we go through these hard times, and so much of what we have gone through was not something that we would have chosen. That said, the choice lies in I am going to learn from this, I'm going to grow from this, I'm going to become better than this, I am going to become better than this that I am in right now. And on the other side of that, walking through that journey, that's where we get empowered. And that is where we become the stronger version of who we were intended to be all along. Okay. So let's sit with that for a moment. Now, how does this happen? How do you do this? There's so many different ways that you can do this. Number one, through therapy, through through coaching, through finding groups that understand you, right? Like a betrayal trauma group, for example. That's what I found when I was going through my betrayal trauma 11 years ago. I joined when I started my business, for example, coaching and diving into what it is to be an entrepreneur, especially as a single mom. I found so many amazing coaches, and I got into groups that would help me, retreats that would help me that would hold me accountable and help me to grow into that next version of who I wanted to be. I surrounded myself by people that I ultimately was looking at them and I'm like, that's where I want to go. That's where I want to go. And when I surrounded myself by those people, I learned so much about who I was through their experiences as well as my own, right? And so that's really key too. The other thing is you have to choose yourself. You absolutely have the right to choose you in this lifetime. You came into this lifetime alone. You were birthed by your mom, right? You have your family, and yet you came into this world as you. And when you leave this world as you, right? In whatever belief that you have. You have only this amount of time on this planet. You don't know how much time that is. I don't know how much time that I have. I would like to believe that I'm going to live to 108 and really experience the second half part of my life, especially after everything I went through in my first part. That said, I don't know. And so, where our responsibility lies is within those moments of our journey that take us to our ending, right? And one of the things that I talk about all the time is choosing you. This can be really, really hard to do. Okay. One of the things that I do every single year is I pull out of my calendar anywhere from 7 to 22 days. Yes, I've done 22 days. And I put as much as I need into my pack and I go onto a trail. I go climb a mountain. I go climb out in the wilderness and I do a lot of self-reflection and I do a lot of deep diving and it hurts. I'm going to tell you, like climbing mountains, it's painful. And every journey that I go on is different. I have no idea what I am going to come upon when I go out into the Sierra Nevada mountains, the national parks, whatever it is that I choose to do. I do it because it's hard. And I do it because it's difficult. And I do it because I get to step outside of my comfort zone and learn something new about myself. Now, your version of this does not have to be climbing mountains. Your version of this can be meditating every day for 90 days. Your version of this can be writing, right? It can be learning something new that you have always wanted to do, whatever it is. When you do something that you've never done before, you find more out about yourself than you ever could have prior to stepping into and learning that thing that you didn't know before, right? And so for me, when I'm out there, say this year, for example, we're doing the Sierra High route. We actually leave a week from, well, actually, so this is going to release on a Wednesday. We're leaving on Sunday. And we are going to be out there for 12 days, use literally not even climbing on trails. We are going to be out on the Sierra High route for 12 days straight, carrying everything that we need for those 12 days, route finding through the top peaks of the Sierra Nevada mountains. We've been doing this now. This is the third year. We've been section hiking this route. It's the most difficult and dangerous route in the United States. We did the first route, the middle section, back in 2022, right after my mom passed. 2023, we did the first part, and now we are doing the last part of the route. And I do it because I want to see what I'm capable of. I want to push myself into that space, right? And really find a new version of me that I wouldn't be able to find if I was just sitting on the couch doing nothing. I'm just going to state it. So there are three reasons that I do this, and I want to share this with you. And I want to share with you the importance of choosing you. I do it my way. This is my way of choosing me. You need to find your way of choosing you. Like I said, if it's getting into a support group, if it is choosing to get yourself an executive coach, right? And get out of the career or the position that you're in so that you can level up into this new career that you have ultimately always wanted. There's so many different versions of this. I'm just simply sharing my version, right? So there are three reasons that I do this. The first reason that I do it is because I want to find what's most important for me. And when I'm out climbing mountains, when I am going over those difficult passes, I find what is most important within my heart, my soul, my values, my integrity, who I am as a woman, as a mom, as an entrepreneur, as a speaker, as an author, as a retreat guide. I find patience. I find love for self. I find love for others. I experience so much pain because I'm going to tell you, when I am climbing those passes, girlfriend I get really tired. I'm always the last one because I'm slower than everybody else. I get impatient with myself. I get mad at myself. I have to forgive myself for getting mad at myself. I go through all the feelings, all the thoughts, the leadership positions that everyone does, right? When they are climbing to that next level. using this as a metaphor, right? Because they're climbing to the next level. And so I do it because it's difficult. And I want to step into the difficult every year of my life so that I can see then what is my second reason for doing this, what I'm capable of. Because if I don't push myself, how will I know what I can do? So I always, always, always go out there knowing that it's going to be hard, right? And also knowing that through that hard, I'm going to find what I can actually achieve. You cannot see the beauty from the summit unless you do the climb. Okay, so let's take that right there. Why do I lead retreats in the Grand Canyon? Because the Grand Canyon is the metaphor for doing the deep dive on self. We go and descend really far into the earth, right? Like we're descending into ourself and doing that deep dive within who we are. And we come out an entirely new human being. We find these leadership skills. We find what we are capable of. And so it's the same thing with the work that I'm doing within myself all the time. As I am climbing mountains, I'm also descending into who I am and finding this space of me, this leadership space, this resilient space, this overcoming space. And then that leads into number 3. The other reason that I do this is because truly it deepens this space of faith, of intuition, of knowing, like I know, like I know, like I know. When I set out to do the Sierra High route, which is all route finding, again, like there's no trail. The reason I did it is because I was really scared. I remember back in, I've only been, by the way, I've only been climbing mountains. I've only been doing this for like 7 or 8 years. I've only been camping out in the wilds for that long. Prior to that, yes, I climbed on trails, but I never camped out there. Like I was scared of that. And my very first time that I did it, I was climbing with a dear friend, and we camped on top of El Capitan. And I remember looking out, we were the only ones there. It was January. And I remember looking out into this incredible valley below, which is Yosemite, and thinking to myself, is there anything more beautiful than this? And remember, this is also when I was coming out of my trauma, when I was going through, started my business. I was dealing with a lot. I was a single mom. And I just kept thinking, is there anything more beautiful than this life that we are in right now? Despite all the hardships, despite the pain, the sadness, the anger, the hard times, the fear that I was experiencing coming out of a marriage that and out of a life that I only knew. And yet I'm standing on El Capitan looking out into this world and thinking to myself, is there anything more beautiful than this despite the hard that I am in? And my answer was, there's just nothing more beautiful. There's nothing more beautiful than living. And so that trip that I had with my dear friend led me into the High Sierra Trail, which led me into the Sierra High Route, which led me into, just so many things. The John Muir Trail, I've trekked that for 22 days. And now when we're on the route, there's no trail. So I'm literally route finding. Like I'm using a map, a compass, my phone. I'm using waypoints and figuring out, okay, if I'm standing on top of a mountain, I got to get to the other mountain. How am I going to do that without a trail? I'm going to be climbing down the rocks. Anywhere from class 3, class 2 climbing to, going through boulders and over top of these huge rock fields and through the valleys and the prairies and all of it. And you're blazing your own trail. There's no one doing it for you but you. And that alone, the reason I do that is because I want to dive into even more. Can my intuition support me? Can my gut, my knowing, my true north support me in moving forward? So that's why I do the hard. That's why I do the difficult. And as I am, answering all these questions from people of, can you find happiness? Can you find joy outside of the darkness, the hard times that you are living in? If it is dealing with a boss that can be hard, if it's a career that you're not fully satisfied in, if it's a relationship that you're questioning, if it is you know, somebody that died that's very close to you, whatever it is, can you find happiness and joy on the other side? And my answer is overwhelmingly yes. When you choose you, you got to do the hard. There's a really good quote by Dr. Edith Eger. We all walk through the valley of darkness at some point in our lives. Do not set up camp there. Do not set up camp there. Choose you. And I promise you, get curious about your life, go have fun, cry out the tears, fill it up with laughter, and you will find a lot of happiness and joy on the other side. I promise you that. So with that, please share this podcast episode with those that may be in their own hard moments. Go rate, review, subscribe first, rate and review this podcast episode, share on your social media, and I would love, tag me, and I would love to reshare on my social media as well. I love having you here. And in order for this podcast to continue going strong, we need all of you to continue to get it out into the world as well. So be a part of this community in all of the ways and help us help you. I love you. Have a wonderful rest of your night. Go explore, choose you. And I would love to hear how this helps you in your daily life as well. Thank you.